Afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we have a webinar, Exploring Alternatives to Layoffs. My name is Samalit Hogan. I'm the Regional Director of the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center located in Springfield, Massachusetts. And I am joined here today by Ken Messina and his team at the MassHire and the Rapid Response team from the Department of Unemployment. And we will have about an hour webinar today. We will leave time for questions and answers. For all of those who are joining us via Facebook, we are monitoring your Facebook questions. For those who are right now in the Zoom webinar, the best way to ask a question is by clicking that Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen or entering your question on the chat. And you can do that at any time. You will not be interrupting the speaker. And I'll keep track of those questions to make sure we answer them. Today's program or webinar is brought to you by the Western Mass Business Technical Assistance Collaboration. This is a group of business technical assistance providers in this area that are funded by the SBA, the state of Massachusetts, UMass Eisenberg School of Management, as well as grant funding from the Mass Growth Capital Corporation. And those are the Mass Small Business Development Center, SCORE, the Center for Women in Enterprise, Common Capital, Valley Community Development, and Franklin County CDC. So thank you all for helping us bring this program into you and these important topics. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ken Messina. And before we do the presentation, why don't we have all of you introduce yourselves and tell us your name, your role, who you are, and then we can get started with the actual PowerPoint presentation. Ken, would you like to start first?
Sure, I'll start. Good morning, folks. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting us today. And Samal, thank you very much for setting this up for us. It's very important for all of us to make sure that our business partners and all our employees understand all the programs we have. I'm Ken Messina. I'm the Rapid Response Business Services Manager for the state of Massachusetts out of the MassHire Department of Career Services.
And my name is Carol Snyder, and I am the Rapid Response Coordinator for the western part of the state.
Good afternoon. My name is Luis Hernandez. I am a business service representative for the western area, working along with Carol and Ken.
And hi, I'm Norca Disla Shannon, and I am the coordinator for the Northeast region.
Excellent. Great. Thank you all for introducing yourselves.
Working along with Carol and Ken.
Hold on. So Ken, at this time, could you please share your screen and you can continue, you can start your presentation.
Okay, will do. Okay. So folks, again, like I said, thank you very much for joining us today. And again, thank you very much for having us today. It's very important for us, and I think what I got to do is click on this and bear with me. We're learning along the way. Here we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm Ken Messina. I'm the Rapid Response Manager for the state of Massachusetts out of the MassHire Department of Career Services. The Rapid Response team was designed to assist companies and those employees that are affected by layoffs and closures, but we're also basically designed to try and provide layoff aversion services for businesses that are going and experiencing difficulties. I just want to let you know that there are 22 members on the Rapid Response team located throughout the state of Massachusetts, and we've been serving people throughout the coronavirus situation, we'll call it. Right now, we're at 200 businesses and over 14,500 employees that we've assisted. And the ways that we assist businesses vary very much depending upon the business itself. So I just want to let you know that we're going to go through this PowerPoint. We're going to talk about a number of the services that we have for businesses that are out there. Some might fit your business, some might not. I want to just let you know up front that things are changing so quickly for us that I'm going to tell you that everybody doesn't know everything about all these different services that are in the PowerPoint, but we're going to try and help you. But I can tell you right now, just a quick story, and I like to always give you a real-time example. We had a call from Delta Airlines today. Delta Airlines was laying people off. They were putting people on reduced hours, and they had no idea about the programs that we have here today to offer. So this is the advantage of having this presentation and understanding the programs prior to you actually letting people go and laying people off. So we're going to go through the PowerPoint presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about the programs. We have the mic open, so if you have any questions, we have 4 of the rapid response team members. You can see them on the side here, and we're going to try and answer any questions we possibly can for you. What I'm hoping that we can do at the end, by the end of the presentation, is have a contact point for all of you, a contact point to answer all of your questions, a contact point to help you in the future, and to help you through this terrible situation that we're all going through. Excuse me. So we'll start off by saying that the rapid response team, as I said, is in place in the state of Massachusetts. It's a federally funded program, so there's a rapid response team in every state throughout the country. In Massachusetts, we offer some programs that some states don't offer, and vice versa. So we'll start with furloughs. When a company is going through a situation like this, you're wondering to yourself, what am I going to do? If I lay people off, do I have to lay them off temporarily? Am I going to be able to keep my business open for long term? Can I reduce the hours of my people, and how can I go about that? So there's a number of different programs the state has to offer, and I want to go through some of those today. So if we're experiencing a downturn in business, you can furlough your employees, and basically a furlough is a temporary layoff. When you're opening a claim for anyone who's affected by a layoff, it's very much the same in a furlough or a layoff situation. The only difference in a furlough is that you have a return date, or you're expected a return date. When you talk about WorkShare, this is a program that a lot of businesses have little knowledge of, or none at all. And I can tell you right now, it's like the hidden gem that we have here in Massachusetts and many other states throughout the country. The reason that it is that if you have a downturn in your business situation, you're able to reduce the hours of those individuals, keep them working for you, which is very important, and I don't have to tell you how important that is, but you can keep them working for you on a reduced schedule, and we can supplement the pay of those individuals with their unemployment insurance. It's really a great program, and a lot of companies are going to this situation. So if I were to give you an example, if you were a restaurant and you were saying, well, we can't have any more folks coming in to do sit down, but you wanted to expand your business for takeout and curbside, well, it would probably take less time to run your operation in that situation. You might say, well, we're going to lay off half of our workers. Instead of laying off half of your workers, you might be able to reduce the hours of all your workers, keeping your workers attached to your company so you don't risk losing your workers to another business, and you keep them going on a reduced schedule. And what we do is we supplement the pay of those individuals by opening up their unemployment claim and hitting it for anywhere between 10 to 60% of their time. It's a great program. It's allowed a lot of companies, when we're not in a COVID-19 situation, to actually save their business when they go through a reduction in workforce that could result because of a machine breaking down or whatever the reason might be. But it's a great program, and we'll talk more about that in the presentation. The other situation is just a straight out layoff. It's a permanent layoff situation, which we're hoping no one has to go through right now. We're hoping most businesses are going to be able to come out of this situation whole and to employ their employees full-time and maybe even hire some more employees. The rapid response team works with other businesses that are out there that are also hiring employees as well. So when we talk about rapid response, it's a federally mandated program under the Workforce Investment Act, Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act. The rapid response team is located throughout the state of Massachusetts. And what I want to do is I want to give you contact information for all of our people throughout the state. And when you're talking about how do I get a question answered about unemployment insurance? How do I get a question answered about how I move on with my business and what services I can actually use and utilize, and how do I connect to those services? Well, we have the answer to that in the next few slides, where we have a 1-800 number and a contact point. And I want to go through those contact points because folks on the line might actually be from businesses from different areas. So when we talk about quick links, how do you get a rapid response person on the line? There's a 1-800 number. You can call that 1-800 number, and that 1-800 number basically is manned by some of our rapid response team members, and they will filter your calls out to the appropriate rapid response person. The WorkShare, DUA WorkShare hotline is the 617 line, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably easier to work with your rapid response person, because right now I'm sure everyone's heard of all the claims that are opening and the people that are being laid off, and the Department of Unemployment Insurance, which is the acronym for DUA, as you say, it's a mile, make sure I do that. But the bottom line is that you're going to have a hard time getting through because people are swamped. And right now, we've got rapid response folks are answering some of those questions and trying to pick up the pieces for some of those folks here as well. So if you're looking at the statewide office, that's my name, it's Ken Messina, and that's my main office number. Chuck Bennett is our rapid response contact in the Boston area. So Chuck can be a contact that will connect you to all the different services in Boston. If we're talking about the Central Region, Sandra Foley, and she's an expert at unemployment insurance. She answers a lot of claims, as do a lot of our folks on the team, but we have different folks that have different expertise on the team. So when you're talking about a particular need that a company might have, this is where we really work together as a team. And Sandra's great at the unemployment piece of it. But she's in the Central Region, and the Central Region is more of the Leominster, Worcester, that middle of the state type of region. The Northeast region, and you met Norca, she's on the phone right on the line as well. She's in the Northeast region, and she handles the Merrimack Valley area. Helder Texter is in the Southeast region, and the folks that you're probably going to be most interested in is our folks in the Western region. You met Carol Snyder, you met Luis Hernandez. We have Megan Williams as well. So we have 3 rapid response staff members that are here at the ready to answer all of your questions that we're talking about today. So those are the folks that really are going to be a lifeline, I believe, for all of the businesses on the line right now. So when we talk about what you can expect from rapid response, rapid response works 24/7. So when you have a need, we can provide services. So what kind of services can you expect from the rapid response team? Well, if you're going to be laying folks off, the best thing we can do is come on site, and usually we would come on site, but now we'll come on site virtually to you and provide what's called a rapid response employee meeting session. That rapid response employee meeting session is extremely important for people who are opening up claims for the first time or having a difficulty opening up their claims. The reason I say that is when we do the rapid response presentation, it goes step by step and explains how to open your claim the right way, how to answer the questions the right way. You wouldn't believe how many calls we're getting from folks, and I'm sure that you're getting them too on the call here as well, from people that you've laid off that might have had their claim stopped or an issue put in their claim for whatever reason. And it could be as simple as they just answered the question the wrong way. So if we're allowed to provide a rapid response employee session for your people virtually, I would guarantee that there'd be a lot less calls coming your way or issues on their claims, which will help both your company in the main operation with all the calls coming in, and help the aggravation that your people are going through that might be stuck on an issue on their claims. So this is why it's very important to work with us. The other piece of the pie that we work with is the one-stop career centers. So there's a whole system that we work together with. You think about the rapid response team, we're like the SWAT team. We come out right away when companies are closing and laying off. In a disaster situation, in the situation with the COVID-19, we're out there regularly and we're calling companies, and companies are calling in. They're calling in because they feel they have to put in a warn notice, and we'll talk about that later as well. But they're calling in for a lot of different questions, and we're working with them up front prior to the layoff usually. We have over 30 one-stop career centers that make up this whole system where we can help your business and help your employees through this whole situation. So we're working with the folks up front prior to the layoff usually, and prior to them starting to collect their unemployment to ensure that that runs smoothly. And then what we normally do is refer over to one of the one-stop career centers. And there are a number of them here, as you can see on your screen, in the Western region. So our rapid response folks that are regionally based work together with those one-stop career centers in that area. And that's what we would be doing with all of your companies through their whole transition from employment to unemployment, and then back again to employment with your company, as we're all hoping. So these are your contacts at your one-stop career centers that work together with the rapid response team. And again, if you're thinking about how this works, the rapid response is a SWAT team. We go up front, we work with those businesses quickly and up front and connect them to all the different services. And then we refer the individuals that are being laid off over to the one-stop career centers for additional services and either a new job or to help them connect back to your business as well. The other thing that we do with the rapid response team is work with all of the different services, and we're going to go through some of those, and a lot of those we're not experts at those, because I don't think anybody is, to tell you the truth, because we're all waiting on whether some of them are going to be approved or when or how that's going to work, but we'll go through them all. I think I want to stop for a minute, Samad, and ask if anyone has any questions.
Yes, hi, Ken, sorry about that. No questions so far, so please keep going. I guess the only question was if you would be able to share this presentation with us so we can send it to everyone who registered today.
Absolutely. The presentation that you have right here is yours to keep. What I would say, though, is you want to stay connected with the mass.gov/bizworks website, because it's being updated as we speak. I mean, this is a real-time PowerPoint, as much as you can say, because it's changing. It's almost changing as we speak, believe it or not, because, you know, whether the federal government makes a decision on when folks are going to be able to get that extension, or if Governor Baker makes a decision and changes something, or adds a pot of money for a loan fund or whatever, we're continuously updating this, the website. So what I would say is take the website as we have it now. It has mostly everything that's going to be in there. But when things change, you can always go to the mass.gov/bizworks website.
Okay, I'm going to post that on the chat so the folks that are listening can go to that page in just a moment.
Okay, there was someone, Maggie, I think, raised her hand.
Let's
I
see
saw.
here. Maggie has a question. Oh, she just said to please repeat the website. She's all set.
Okay, we're good?
Yes, we're good. Continue.
Okay, so layoff aversion services, when we're talking about the layoff aversion services, most of the time in this particular case, we're talking about the WorkShare program. So right away, if your company needs to reduce the payroll cost, as I had mentioned, it's an alternative to layoffs. And going into this a little more deeply, when you're talking about laying folks off, you always run the risk that they might not come back to your company. They might be obviously looking for another job. So if you can reduce the hours of your company, as opposed to having a full layoff and completely laying those folks off, there's a big advantage, because you're staying connected with your employees, and they're connected with your company. I think right now too, in this time of need, it really also talks to you about reinventing your business when we're talking about, like I say, a restaurant business, and thinking about other ways to be able to use some of their people. So the WorkShare program works like this, as I mentioned. You would be able to put a number of your folks, and you can actually set up different plans for each company that you own. So let's say that I was talking to the casino, so they were asking me how we could use this in the casino situation. So we'd say that maybe the restaurant piece of the business would stay open. We know it hasn't, but just bear with me here. But if the restaurant piece was going to be reduced by 20%, we would be able to put all those staff on a particular WorkShare program. And then let's say the casino piece of it, we were going to reduce the hours by 40%. well, then we'd put all those people on that particular program. The WorkShare program is a fairly strict regimented program. So once you put those folks on a particular program, they need to stick to those hours. You couldn't say, well, you know, 2 of those folks are going to come off for 10% instead of 25%. Once you say that these folks are going to be on this particular program, they're on that particular program for the duration. But the beauty part about this program is that you can have 2 or 3 different operations working the same time with different reduced hours, as long as you have that all worked out in the program. So I'm hoping people understand that. The other piece of it is that, you know, when you're talking about unemployment, when you lay people off completely, the maximum rate is $823 a week. Right now, the maximum is 26 weeks. We're still waiting to find out if we're going to get the extension up to 39 and the $600. We don't know that yet, but let's go with the 823 and the 26 weeks. So basically what you'd be able to do is get a portion, or each individual, depending upon what their rate would be, they would be able to get a portion of that rate, and that would pay them for those reduced hours that you're putting over to us, so that we can supplement those employees that way for their pay. I hope that's understood, but the WorkShare program has been a very popular program through this ordeal, and people are taking advantage of it. A couple of things to remember about the WorkShare program. When folks are questions that companies ask us, they say, how long is it going to take to put a program in place? Normally in the law, it says up to 15 days, but we've been seeing much quicker turnaround within 2 or 3 days, or up to 5 days. In some particular cases, we've been able to get companies on those on a WorkShare program. When they ask about the WorkShare program, they've been asking about if somebody goes on the WorkShare program, does it affect my experience rate? It does, but it doesn't affect your experience rate as much as it would if you were to lay people off completely for their whole 40 hours a week, okay? So there's some big benefits going to the WorkShare program as opposed to a regular furlough or a layoff situation.
So Ken, we have a question here from Joe. Joe asked, how does the WorkShare program affect the federal benefits?
So right now we're waiting on that, because they're actually talking about, you know, 100% or 50% of which percentage they're going to be able to get with that. So we're really not sure as far as getting that part of it yet. And as far as how it would affect them, is he asking, would they get the extra 600 of that? We're still waiting on a lot of those, on a lot of the confirmations, a lot of that.
Okay,
So
Joe,
we don't
does that
have
answer
a
your
lot of those
question?
answers.
Okay, I would assume so. Okay, continue.
And I'll just ask, well, while we have it here, because I have my other members on the team here, I haven't heard any changes to that. I mean, I'd ask Carol or Lewis or Norker if they've heard any changes to that, because as far as I know right now, we haven't had any confirmation on that. Am I correct, folks?
You guys can go ahead and unmute yourselves.
I haven't heard anything different.
I
I just,
haven't either, Ken.
Okay, so right now it's status quo. I mean, I think that the best thing for the employer and for that, for the question that was asked, I mean, it's a great program that can help your company keep those folks in place working for you. So, I mean, and if anything comes down the way, I mean, you know, we'll be in touch with you if we're working with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, continue.
Okay. So we're looking at the new federal resources, family paid leave, sick act. This is another one, like I say, I mean, it's been out there for a little bit. We don't know all the ins and outs of that. What we're trying to do is make sure that people are connected to any of these resources. So what we're doing is giving the link down below so that you can connect to those. We can connect you to the folks that run the programs in the state if you have any direct questions on this. And these are where we're going to get into a lot of the situations where the rapid response team might not be the expert in all of these, but we connect all the partners together So if a company was working with us, we would be able to connect you to the right person on that. So I'm going to go through some of these. And again, like I say, things are changing quickly on them. One other thing that I should mention is folks might be concerned about the Worker Adjustment Retraining Notification Act. The Worker Adjustment Retraining Notification Act is the federal law that basically states that any company that employs 100 or more employees and lays off 50 or more, or 1/3 their workforce, they need to give a 60 days notice to the state, which actually comes to me, and also the lead elected official of their area, a union if you have a union working with your company, and to your employees. And basically what it's set up to do is to give 60 days notice to those employees prior to the layoff occurring. Okay, so you're probably all sitting there saying, well, yeah, Ken, well, we didn't know this was going to occur, and neither do we. So the bottom line is, the good side to this is, and I was just on the phone with the Sugar Law Firm out in Michigan, which is really the main law firm that I go to when I have tough questions to be answered on this law. And they said, and we've been saying all along, if you read the law, it says that this is an unforeseen situation. It's a situation that you didn't cause, your company didn't cause, nor did you have time to react to it. What it does say in the law, though, is that you should give notice within a reasonable time, with whatever time is reasonable for you to send a notice in if you qualify for a WARN notice. If you are one of those companies that employ 100 or more and lay off 50 or more, or 1/3 their workforce. I'm receiving a lot of WARN notices. Of the 200 companies that we've worked with, we've probably received about 40 or 50 WARN notices. And that's just the nature of the beast, because most companies are too small to even qualify. But my best advice to lawyers that call me all the time, and they do, about this act, is to put in the notice. It's not going to hurt you at all. And yes, there's no way that a judge would probably find a company in fault in this particular situation as well. And that's what the lawyers were saying. But their advice was that when in doubt, fill it out. I mean, so if you have a chance, you can send it in. It comes into myself. You can go on mass.gov, file a WARN notice, and that tells you how to do that, and all the information's there. I would ask any company that has specific questions about this, you can call me directly. I'll leave my number with Somalid, and we can go from there. But the WARN notice is something that a lot of companies are worried about. I'm getting a lot of calls from those. And again, like I say, it does say in the law, within a reasonable time. I don't even know what reasonable is, in this terrible situation. But the bottom line is that if you want to cover yourself, you can do that. On the other end, the lawyers are saying that they probably wouldn't be going after companies in this situation as well. I know it's a little sketchy, but I'm trying to give you what we have, and we can help you through that.
I'm going to add that link to the chat for everyone to have in case they need.
Excellent. Let me just ask, has anyone on the call, was anyone on the call concerned about the WARN Act?
Yeah, for those folks who are listening to us, please use the chat or raise your hand if you have any questions or concerns regarding the WARN notice. Okay, doesn't appear so.
That's okay. That's good.
Someone
Hey,
said,
again-
Jill says that her clients are too small.
And that is most of the time when we talk about the percentage of people who send in WARN notices. Every year we handle about 350 companies that close and have layoffs regardless of the coronavirus or not. And it's just really companies going through their course of business. And I can tell you right now, the number of WARN notices compared to the 350 is probably around 30 or 40. I can say right now it's kind of unusual because there are large layoffs that are happening all over the place that I have been getting a lot of WARN notices. So, but anyway, this tells you a little bit more about the WARN law right here. And it tells you right here that a business could not reasonably foresee the circumstances leading to this event. And here's the link right there as well too. Again, the Department of Unemployment Insurance, there's a number of new things that are coming up because of COVID-19. You're talking about the quarantined due to an order by the civil authority, a medical professional leaves employment due to a reasonable risk or exposure of infection or care to a family member, quarantined, there's a possibility, that we're being able to pay people that are quarantined. Impacted because the workplace was shut down due to COVID-19, we're absolutely, offering unemployment for those situations. We've got a number of different pieces of this legislation here. You can read through it. If you have questions on this, we're going to be here to answer those. We'll also be here to answer those in the future. Like I say, we're leaving you with contact points all the way through this. Again, unemployment insurance provisions. Again, a lot of these things that we're talking about, we've been hearing about. I don't know how many questions I get. Well, are we going to get the $600 a week payment? Are we going to get the additional 13 weeks of unemployment benefits? Right now, we haven't heard that those have been put in place yet, okay? So we just want to say that those are things that they're thinking of. Maybe they will be, we can't say right now, but you have a contact person for your local area, and you have a contact person throughout the state that we can help you and update you with this. And what I would say is, stay in tune with that PowerPoint, because a member of our staff, and I'll give her a shout out, Megan Williams, right there in the Western region, guys, right from your area. She's the one that's updating this PowerPoint and making sure that it's current. So here we go.
Ken, real quick, on the unemployment, if you can go back one slide, on this unemployment assistance program, it does say that including the self-employed individuals.
Correct.
And one question that we get a lot from our small business owners is, well, so they're sole proprietors or they have an LLC, they're
Yep.
not in the payroll. So
Correct.
how do what's the type of documentation they need to provide to get unemployment benefits?
Right, and I know right now we still haven't had the direction that they're absolutely going to be doing that. I get a lot of those calls myself too. I think that what I've heard is it's not, that the best thing is not to apply right now. And I'm going to defer to the Norca and Carol and Lewis. Have you heard, what advice have you been giving your folks? Is wait until that happens or to apply? And then, because one of the things we were concerned about is if you apply and then that comes through, you might have an issue on the claim or not. Help me out with this, folks. Anybody on the call have a better take on that?
Hi, Ken, it's Norca. When the governor extended the date to May 4th, he did say that it was better for people to wait because we don't have the guidance yet from the federal government as to how they're going to apply that to, contract workers, LLCs, sole proprietors. So it was advised that people wait. And I also saw it on the DUA website that it said, you're better off waiting, because what happens is it could create additional issues because the system as it's programmed now is looking for a company that's paid into the unemployment fund. So that's why it's better to wait until we get the directive from the federal government.
Any idea though when that might happen? Is one of the questions that we have in our Q&A.
I mean, I've heard that, in the Hurley building, they're trying to work that out with the Department of Labor and with the Department of Unemployment Assistance. So they're absolutely working on it. The thing I would say is they're probably going to let us know so we can in turn let you know, and also keep checking the website, the DUA website, because they have been very good about updating things on there.
One thing on Norca I think that we ought to do though is explain what it means to get an issue on your claim, because I think that that's what a lot of people don't know. And the thing that can hold up an unemployment claim drastically is having an issue on your claim. An issue on your claim could be as small as answering one of the questions the wrong way. So we want to make sure that people don't go into having issues on their claims, because what happens is that there's a big backup trying to solve those issues before people can be approved for unemployment. So that's why we're telling people to heed the advice and really kind of wait, I think, for that, right, Norca?
Yes. So when you get an issue on the claim, it delays the payment time. So that's why they're saying to hold off for people who may be contract workers or LLC or sole proprietors, because when you go to apply for unemployment benefits, one of the first things they ask you is, what's the name of your employer? And you're not on there because you haven't, if you're a sole proprietor or a contractor, you haven't paid into the unemployment insurance fund. So that's going to create an issue, and any issue that is on your claim will delay the payment. So it's better to wait. Again, as soon as we get notification, we can let somebody know, and you can keep checking the website because they have been very good about updating the mass.gov, spelled mass.gov/DUA. And they have been very good about updating things with COVID-19 and things that are happening.
Thanks,
So
Sandra.
maybe you partially answered this question already, but we have a question in the Q&A. It goes, many people, employees in particular, have been having issues and haven't been able to get help. Apparently, the system is rejecting large numbers of applications who say they aren't job searching because they're on furlough. Any advice for them?
Well, we were on a call. I was actually on a call with Sandra Foley, who Ken mentioned on Monday, and it was what we did was set up a sort of a session like this where we had a question and answer, and that did come up. So one of the things is that if it comes up and it's asking you whether or not you've been looking for work, you want to say yes. And then when they'd ask you how many days have you looked for work, you say the minimum of 3. But another issue that has come up is also that there were people who applied prior to the COVID-19 designation being available on the application. And what Sandra said to that was that, you know, they're trying to go through the system and clear those out so that people who applied, I believe it was the weekend of the 15th through the 21st.
Right.
What they're trying to do is make sure that people that applied within those weeks are added to the COVID-19 designation. So.
Does that answer it, Somalia? I know that issues are always a hard thing. There are so many reasons that they can get them, but I know that, you know, that was one, Norca, that we were talking about too and everything. And people are thinking that, you know, are they actually doing the job search or not, or whatever it is? And the correct answer is yes, because you're connected to the company that you've been laid off from, you know, so.
And I know that even with the I know they've changed the regulations to, for the waiting period, but they've also changed it for the looking for work. And I know Sandra said that one of the things you have to do is, when you say yes, you're actually telling the truth, because you're always keeping contact with your employer as this is happening.
Right. Is that Somalia? Is that?
And I think, you know, some people kind of struggle with that, right? Because if they're they feel like if they're not actively looking for a job, if they say yes, they feel like you're lying. But I like what you said there. Is like they're currently engaged with an employer. They would probably, if their employer had not furloughed them, they would still be working with that employer. And there's always a possibility they might actually get laid off at the end of the day too. So keeping their options open, if they're in that mindset, it wouldn't necessarily be lying, you know. So which is a concern that many of us have, because we want to be good citizens and not take advantage of programs that are not necessarily meant for us. So thank you for that. We have another question here from Sunset. Are owners of S Corps allowed to collect unemployment benefits? Owners of what?
S Corps?
Of corporations, S Corps.
S Corps?
Yeah, well, so it's a corporation, just like an, you know, not an LLC, but an S Corp is like another type of business entity. C Corp, S Corp, they have shareholders. So
are they paying into unemployment?
Are they paying into unemployment, Ken asked?
Yes, so technically they should, yes.
I mean, if they're paying into unemployment, technically they should be eligible. And we always tell everybody that it's, you know, it's everyone's right to apply, you know, and let the unemployment office either deny you or approve you. So, you know, the best thing to do is to apply when in doubt. But, you know, if they are paying in to the unemployment fund and everything, they should be eligible.
Great, that is correct. They do pay unemployment benefits. They
Okay.
they pay themselves with their W-2.
Okay. We good?
I don't see any other questions in the chat just yet, so continue with the presentation. Thank you for stopping in this very important section.
Yeah, and the other piece of it is that, you know, the piece that I don't think that we mentioned is that they did, you know, they waived the 1 week waiting period too. So you're not waiting 1 week anymore like you would be under a normal unemployment claim. So they have done a number of things to try and help the folks that are being affected immediately so that they can collect immediately right away. And again, stay tuned until we get any of the federal assistance that we're supposed to be getting.
Sure. Ken, one concern that one of the participants who's viewing this webinar right now brought up is that some of these folks who own these companies and they do pay into unemployment insurance are being rejected because they decided to close. Do you know anything about that?
I do not. They're being rejected because they decided to close. I'm not, we can, you know what I can do is we can get back to you we can take that question and I'll get back to you. If I don't know the answer to a question and someone of my staff that's on the phone doesn't know the answer to that, we'll get back to you. So if people have questions, why don't we start kind of a little parking lot and everything, and we'll commit to getting back to you with all these answers.
Sure, thank you.
You're welcome. So some of the business loans that we're talking about, the Small Business Association, and I don't know if you've talked about these already, Somalia, was the Express Bridge Loan Pilot Program, up to $25,000 to help overcome temporary loss of revenue. You know, if a small business has an urgent need for cash, there's a $25,000 fund as well too. The Small Business Association is your connection with that. We have your connections to the Small Business Association and the links down below. And I'll just go through some of these. When you're talking about the Small Business Administration, as far as I've gotten a lot of calls asking me what the interest rates are and, you know, what the interest rate for a nonprofit is. So we have them pictured here on the slide. It answers a lot of the questions that we had gotten before. I don't know if folks have any other questions on these. And again, the best folks that can answer those are the folks from the Small Business Association. They're partners with us together with all of this stuff that we're doing. You okay?
Yes, Ken, the Small Business Administration is definitely the best place to go, sba.gov. I'll put the link in the chat. If people are needing more assistance figuring out, you know, their options or need to have a conversation with someone about their specific situation, they can reach out to SBA's resource partners, which include the folks that I mentioned earlier at this webinar, SCORE, my organization, the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center, and others in the region. I'll go through that list at the end of the webinar again.
Okay. And some of these, you're probably going to know a little bit more about them, you know, where you're with the Small Business Association. But again, we tried to put them all together in one spot so companies have one place to go to, so you have all these different offerings together. And again, this talks to you a little bit more about eligibility in that capital, the Com Capital East Track Loan Program. Again, this particular one, the interest rate's 8.25 and 11%. You know, they're fixed rate. Again, down below, another one of the loan programs, www.commoncapital.org. Again, more information about the tax relief measures, you know, postponing the collection of sales tax. This was a big one. I don't know if folks heard about this so much out there when we had the explosions in Lawrence and Andover and North Andover. Most of the restaurants and a lot of the small businesses were talking about the sales tax and meals tax that they have to pay. Well, they postponed the collection of those, and this talks about that a bit. And it also talks about the room occupancy taxes as well too. So they postponed those until June 20th. So that's a great thing for a lot of companies, because I know that that was something that weighed really heavy on the minds of a lot of the businesses when we had the explosions, that, you know, they've gone through this terrible thing and now all of a sudden they had to pay the sales tax, but they've waived that or pushed it on out to June 20th. So again, this talks a little bit more about the penalties and interest that would be waived. It talks about businesses that paid less than $150,000 in regular sales tax. And again, that it was ending in February 29, 2020. So this is just more information on the sales tax piece of it. Questions?
Yeah, there's a few here on the Q&A. Let's see. In the past, one of I guess this is going back a little bit. In the past, unemployment insurance had told owner employers that it was in their control, but the staff is in the control or on the whether or not they can collect, and owner employees have been denied, and we're told that it was their choice to close. So I guess that goes back to the question about the closing, which we will answer a little bit later as to why that's happening. Yep. And then there's another one from Karine here saying, I'm having difficult time searching the actual federal grant for small business. And Karine, for you, when you go to that website that I posted, sba.gov/disaster, the $10,000 grant that everybody talks about is actually an advance on that economic injury disaster loan. And that is forgiven, and whether or not you actually get approved for the economic injury disaster loan program. The information is there. You have to do the streamlined application. It's about 2-3 pages long. It's pretty straightforward. Most people are taking about 10 minutes to fill out. So I highly encourage you to go to that link that I posted and apply for your business. And I think that's it for now.
Okay, so we'll go through again. MEMA. MEMA's, I think everyone knows who MEMA is, you know, Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, and they're the ones that put out the natural disaster grants and all and everything through the federal government. So you have it right here. It talks about, you know, what their hotline number is, and also their website in order to get in. The U.S. Chamber also has resources. Again, the U.S. Chamber website's here as well too. Going through MEP, MassMEP is actually Mass Extension Partnerships, another one of the many different programs that work together with all of us to try and help businesses through all different situations. You might look at the website and try and find out some of the different things that they have to offer here. They have a lot of different programs that we have that we work together with. So the main thing I want to tell folks is that we're trying as hard as we can to pull this information together. As you can tell, we're not experts at all of this stuff. We're trying to work together with all of our partners and trying to bring it collectively together with you. The information in these presentations is changing so rapidly that it's hard to keep up with it, but we are keeping up with it. We are putting it in on our website. I just want to make sure that you know that it's going to be changing periodically. Again, in the appendix, you know, what does this really just tells you a lot of the information about, you know, how much you can collect, what you can collect. It talks about paid family sick leave, all of that, all the different rights in the FFCRA provided to the employees. I won't go through all of this and everything, but I would encourage you to take a look at all of this information here when you're talking about, you know, how you're going to pay for any of these programs. Again, that's our slideshow for today. But
great. Go ahead and share your screen.
What's that?
That stop sharing button on the top of your screen.
Okay.
It should pop up. There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samal. So in closing, and then, you know what I want to say, I mean, we'll open it up for any other questions, but don't go through this alone. I mean, we're here to help. That's why the rapid response team is here. We have all our folks that, you know, are located throughout the state. We have our partners like Somalia. You can go on mass.gov/ BizWorks website. All of our partners are mentioned there in our resource guide. We have a resource guide that talks about connecting all of our partners as well. Don't go through it alone. We're here to try and help you. Don't try and make a decision that you don't know about without asking one of our people. That's what we're here for. We're here to try and help you. I can tell you, and I know I started earlier talking to you about Delta Airlines. They're a huge company. They called me today, and I'm proud to say that within an hour and a half, we have them on a WorkShare program, and we have Sandra Foley that's going to be doing a WebEx for all of their employees. And you get to just imagine that's hundreds of employees for Delta Airlines, and we did that all in one day. Let us help you.
Right. So Ken, real quick, I know you talked about the WorkShare program, and can you just quickly tell us what are some of the basic steps of getting accepted into that program? What do small business owners have to do?
So the first thing I would do if I was a small business owner is I would call your local area rapid response person. What they're going to ask you is they're going to ask you what's going on with your company. And you explain what's going on. Well, I have a company. I might have to lay these people off. And then whether it's Lewis, Carol, or Meg from the Western region, because I'm imagining a lot are going to be Western region companies, they're going to be asking you, is there any way that you might be able to reduce the hours of those employees? If you reduce the hours, this is the advantage of it. So from that point, what we would do is we would connect you to the WorkShare program. WorkShare program, it would be either Stan, Lee, or Cheryl LaRue. We have 3 people that are doing that for us right now. You can actually apply online for WorkShare. But what I would do is with all of these programs, talk to an expert first. Have them walk you through it. That's why we're there. We'll walk you through how to do this, and it's pretty easy to apply online, but we want to make sure that you're answering all the questions the correct way, and that's why we're here today. So my answer directly to your question there is use us. Call us. Call any one of the people on the rapid response team and ask them about WorkShare. How can that be an advantage? That's my best advice to you.
Great. And I saw all the contacts in your presentation, so we will be sharing that with everyone. And we have a question here from the audience. Anita asked, can people call, I assume small business owners, can they call if they have already let their people go?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, what's happening now is that we have a lot of companies that have already let their people go, and now they're being inundated by those folks because there's a reason that their claim's been stopped or there's something going on with their claim. You don't know how many of those calls we're taking and helping along the way. I know Carol just got rights to try and do some of that directly for our team. She's right here on the presentation. So the bottom line is that we're here to help. We're here to help.
Excellent. So let me see. Are there any other questions at this time from anyone watching today's presentation? If you do have a question and have difficulty typing, you can always go to that participant icon next to Q&A and raise your hand, and I will unmute you and allow you to ask your question rather than having to type it in. So we do want to give everyone the opportunity to ask their questions while we have these folks available here. Let's see, do I see any hands being raised? Scrolling through my screen. Let's see, I don't see any hands being raised. So if you have any other questions, we will be sharing this presentation. There is one that just popped up in the Q&A. It says, from Pat, with WorkShare, can you assign, say hours, 8 hours, and then increase the time as needed, and then go back to 8 hours?
That's the one thing about WorkShare. It's a set program. So once you put that program in place, you need to stick to the hours that you have already designed in the program. So you can't be going back and forth. So that's really where I would say that, when you're talking to one of my folks and everything and guiding you through this process, and then talking to the WorkShare person, it's really guiding you through setting you up what's best for your company at that time, because you can't change it and have people come off it. That's the one thing that about the program, it's strict. Once you set up a certain amount of hours, we'll say 20 hours for those 20 people for 3 months, that's the way that it stays.
Now, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a program that's available throughout the year, even before COVID-19? So
Absolutely.
this is for seasonal type of businesses as well?
It absolutely is. And it's one of our great secrets, I'll say. One that we don't want it to be a secret. We wanted everyone to know about it, but we've been trying to market the program as much as we possibly can. I can personally tell you that I helped the U.S. Department of Labor in promoting this program approximately 7 years ago, where we went out and started training all the different states on rapid response, layoff, aversion, and different programs. When we first started, I think we were around 17 states that had WorkShare programs, and now there's somewhere in the nature of I think it's 37 to 40 states now that have adopted WorkShare programs, because it's such a great program where I can tell you that personally, I've worked with companies where we've saved that company for going out of business by using the WorkShare program.
Right. That's great. And a quick note to everyone that's watching. I know there's a lot of questions out there too about the Paycheck Protection Program. And then other questions about how to manage your cash flow during these difficult times. So I'm going to do we're going to be doing some webinars regarding those subjects very soon. We hope to release those within the next week or so. There's a lot of fact sheets that are coming out for those programs. I will encourage you that you look up the ones that are directly published by the U.S. Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship. Those are the ones you really want to look at, those fact sheets that come out straight from the U.S. Senate, because there's a lot of misinformation being not intentionally, unintentionally misinformation being given out to the public. So you want to get the information right from the source in terms of those programs as well as this program. So it looks like we might have another question here. Let's see here. Can you have staff bank any stray hours for when WorkShare ends?
Can they, Carol or Lewis, I don't get that. Maybe I'm not.
So let's see, Joe, I'm gonna go ahead and, there's someone that's raising their hand here. Hold on one second. Joe, I'm gonna go ahead and allow you to talk so you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Hi, the question I had was, if you've got some stray variation in the hours for staff on a WorkShare program, I know the program is very rigid. And if you said it's 20 hours, you can only report for 20 hours. But if someone works 21 one week and 19 another, can you just kind of bank those hours to the end and just keep reporting the 20 that was on your WorkShare?
Joe, I'm going to tell you, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if Carol or Lewis does. I mean, they can opportunity answer it. If you don't, we'll ask Lee Glazer, and I'll leave this in Carol's hands, where you're the lady from the West, and you can get back to Joe if you don't know the. Do you know Carol or Lewis? Or?
I don't know.
I mean, the reality is, I think an employer could just do that. I don't know how much in violation it would put them with the WorkShare program for doing it. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, because I don't think you folks did mention it, is that the WorkShare program, my understanding is the minimum participants is 2.
Right, 2 to as many as you want.
Right? And your full-time assistant, and you're planning on continuing to work, WorkShare will not be something that you can do with your assistant. You have to have 2 people on it at a minimum.
Correct. Very good.
I've dealt with WorkShare before. In fact, I used to come up before you guys in web searches for WorkShare.
Excellent. Thank
So
you
Joe,
for joining us. I appreciate it. There's another question here. I think we've answered before. Pinaki asks, can an owner of single member sole proprietorship LLC claim for unemployment benefits because of the COVID-19 impact?
And that was the one that we said that we're waiting for the regulations to come down from the federal government. The state is working on that. And if you go to mass.gov/DUA, right on their website, they said that they're still waiting for, regulations on how that will work.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Norca, for answering that. There's another question here from Jay. And we have just like another minute left in today's webinar. WorkShare can be changed, but first you would have to cancel the original one and then apply for a new plan. From what I understand, if we went to 20% and wanted to reduce to 40%, do we have to reapply? Is that correct?
I'm again guessing at this and everything. I would say that you would have to, you'd have to put a new program in place because it would be outside of the other program. But again, we can get some of those answers from Lee Glazer, who's
Yeah,
our.
it sounds with a lot of these questions is once you're engaged with the program and you reached out to the person that's in your area that's helping you with the WorkShare program, they'll be able to guide you through any changes that you need to make to your existing WorkShare program.
They would absolutely be. But like I say, I mean, and as Joe said, it's a rigid program. But again, let's see what we can do to try and move it.
Ken, I just wanted to bring something up. Under normal circumstances, that would be maybe easier to do, but now with the numbers of companies that are applying for WorkShare, that might be more difficult to change the plan.
I mean, one of the things that has happened to us too is that we had a lot of companies go on WorkShare, but when the governor came out and said that some companies needed to close, we had a lot of those companies that were on WorkShare calling us saying that they had to furlough now or lay off. So it's been kind of working both ways, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Joe, who was speaking earlier, says that you did have to reapply if you need to make changes to the program. Right. So, well, at this time, I want to thank you all kindly for your time. Thank you for spending this afternoon with us. This webinar will be shared on our Facebook page. So for those of you who want to look at our recording, I'm posting the link right now on the chat. And so you can actually go to our Facebook page and view the recording of today's webinar. I also want to thank our partners here in the region for helping us with putting together and promoting all of these webinars. That includes the SCORE, the Center for Women Enterprise, Common Capital, Franklin County CDC, Valley Community Development Corporation, and of course, my organization, the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center. Thanks to our funders, the Small Business Administration, State of Massachusetts, and Eisenberg School of Management. And thank you all from MassHire and the Department of Unemployment. Thank you so much, Rapid Response Team, from being here with us today. Thank you, Ken, Carol, Luis, and Norca. We really